The top stories tonight in Y News. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority faces challenges in augmenting public utility buses as voters heading to the provinces flock the terminals.
The Commission on Elections recognizes the PDPLaban faction of Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi as the legitimate wing of the party.
More Filipinos found jobs in March, but more workers are looking for quality jobs.
The Philippine Coast Guard has activated its biggest ship to date, which will patrol the country's maritime territory.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, the 6th of May, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am Kat Dumaraos.
First in the news, the Commission on Elections, or Comelec, has approved the plan to put vaccination sites near polling centers on Election Day. The Comelec reiterated that voters are not required to get vaccinated for them to cast their votes. JP Nunez explains why.
The Commission on Elections and the Department of Health has approved to place COVID-19 vaccination areas near polling precincts according to the Election Task Force of the Department of Education. DepEd Director Marcelo Bragado said the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines will be sanctioned by the DOH. Vaccination areas will be placed beyond 30-meter radius from polling centers. Bragado adds the DOH wants to seize the opportunity to vaccinate more Filipinos.
Inaprubahan din po ng Comelec na meron tayong mga vaccination sites sa mga polling centers. Ngayon hindi po ito sa loob, lilinawin po namin. Wala pong ganong usapan na sa loob gagawin ng mga schools ang vaccination sites.
There are around 640,000 DepEd personnel, including teachers, who will be participating as poll workers on Monday. They will serve as electoral boards, support staff, supervisor, and board of canvassers. The DepEd Election Task Force expects that the election this year will be quite different from the previous ones, especially in this time of pandemic where health measures are imposed.
Yan yung isang challenge natin ngayon with the COVID protocols that we will be implementing. Talagang mahabaan ang pila ang i-expect natin nito. We would try really to impose strictly the health protocols of 1 meter distance. Yan yung kailangan natin isagawa talaga, lalong-lalo na sa urban places like Metro Manila. Mahirap yon.
To avoid long queues on Monday, voters are also advised to go as early as 6 a.m. on polling centers. Voting period will end at 7 p.m. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Filipino voters can now easily report incidents of vote buying to the Commission on Elections. Dante Amento reports why.
The poll body has created Task Force Contra Bigay Facebook page. Any concern or complaint regarding incidents of possible vote buying can be reported here. But the Commission also reminds the public when making complaint on vote buying, a complainant must attach an evidence. It is necessary for the prosecution. The Task Force Contra Bigay will also activate a Citizens Complaint Center to entertain vote buying cases.
Kailangan kasi natin ng complaint, not just a verbal or parang text lang. We need a proper complaint at ang mga makaka-assist. So we have the PNP, diba, the offices that I've mentioned kanina, and they can also file with a law department. Pwede naman.
Commissioner Amy Ferolino, the Task Force Contra Bigay chairperson, said other complaints may also be reported through electronic mail at contrabigay@gmail.com. This can also be directed to the election officers, Legal Assistance Desk of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines or IBP, and to the National Prosecution Service of the Department of Justice. Ferolino added voters should not take photos of their ballots as proof to the candidates that they have voted. It is an election offense and can be used as an evidence of vote buying or vote selling.
Pero ngayon na may cellphone na, ito na yung pinakamabilis na paraan to show that they complied with their agreement with the buyer. But since it is prohibited and the vote buying and vote selling is in itself prohibited, mas lalong bawal yun. So kung ayaw nilang magbayad, ayaw din ng makasuhan ng isa, huwag na lang.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police are now on highest security alert status for the national and local elections on Monday, May 9. The PNP also plans to extend its security preparation until the proclamation of the next president. Leia Ilagan reports why.
The Philippine National Police still receives information in connection with the threats after election. PNP Directorate for Operations Director and Special Task Force on National and Local Election 2022 Deputy Commander, Police Major General Val de Leon said the threat includes protest actions in the country if a particular candidate will lose. Major General de Leon said the protest was planned to be brought to Metro Manila to have a people power scenario.
As usual, ang ating mga kapulisan ay nakakatanggap ng mga informasyon that there are individuals and groups na maaaring hindi nila matanggap ang kalabasan ng resulta ng election. At ito ay magiging violente o magkakaroon sila ng mga huge crowd that will disrupt the smooth flow of traffic.
Because of this, the PNP has increased their contingency plan to prevent any attempt by some groups and individuals. Their contingency plan includes the deployment of civil disturbance management team in its provincial and regional police offices.
Madali naman i-manage ito. No? But we will not allow illegal rallies to be held elsewhere. No? Kumuha sila ng kaukulang permiso, lalo na sa mga LGU na nakakasama.
De Leon assures that their security preparation is until the day of pronouncement of the next president of the country. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Influx of passengers continue to arrive in the Paranaque Integrated Terminal Exchange as they travel to their respective provinces to vote. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA, however, faces challenges in augmenting public utility buses. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why live. Yes, Asher?
Yes, Kat, it is the Paranaque Integrated Terminal Exchange who's experiencing shortage in public utility buses, as several buses were being rented in political campaign sorties. And as campaign period culminates with several meeting the avance to be conducted tomorrow, the PITX management prepares for enough supply of buses for passengers.
We got word na marami dito sa ating mga pampublikong sasakyan, particularly yung mga provincial buses, naarkilahan na ng mga politiko para sa kanilang mga campaign sorties.
To help augment the supply of buses, Salvador says they have been tapping with the Department of Transportation, Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, and the Interagency Council for Traffic. Authorities are also available in the terminal in case special permits need to be issued to additional buses. They are also coordinating with other government agencies for service buses and trucks in case it will be necessary. Despite this, the PITX management says there is still enough supply of buses for the influx of passengers until the election activities.
Sa ngayon, sapat pa naman kasi napaghahandaan nga natin ito mabuti. Kaya lang, ang advice natin sa mga pasahero natin na nagnanais pa bumahay sa kanilang mga probinsya, maganda magtanong muna kayo sa inyong mga friendly bus operators or sa inyong mga suking sinasakyan kasi karamihan talaga nagkakapunuan.
The PITX management expects influx of passengers until Sunday. Kat?
Thank you, Asher Kadapan Jr., reporting live from Quezon City.
Meanwhile, the Philippines recorded its lowest joblessness rate since the pandemic began. However, more joined the ranks of the underemployed. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
The number of unemployed Filipinos in March 2022 declined, bringing the unemployment rate down to 5.8% based from the preliminary results of the Labor Force Survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority or PSA. This is equivalent to 2.87 million Filipinos aged 15 and above who are jobless in March. The number is the lowest level since April 2020.
Kung tutuusin po, ito po ay malapit-lapit pero medyo malayo pang konti doon sa pre-pandemic level po natin na 5.1% unemployment rate. So kailangan po ay tuloy-tuloy lang yung mga programa po natin ng pamahalaan.
Meanwhile, the employment rate is 94.2% or 46.98 million employed individuals in March. However, underemployment rate went up to 15.8% or there were 7.42 million Filipinos who sought additional work hours or better job opportunities. This is higher than the 14% underemployment rate or 6.38 million in February 2022. In a statement, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Carl Chua still recommends to shift the entire country to Alert Level 1 to generate more employment and strengthen the domestic economy against external shocks. Malacanang, on its part, said the recent employment rate proves how effective the government's calibrated strategy is of shifting to Alert Level system to further reopen the economy. The palace is also confident to see a further improvement in our employment situation as government has concrete plans to sustain our economic rebound. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In a memorandum released by the Office of Chairman Saideman Pangarungan this evening, the Commission on Elections designated attorney John Rex Laudianco from the Law Department as its acting Comelec spokesperson. Laudianco replaced James Jimenez, who will remain as the director of the Education and Information Departments after Pangarungan acted on the recommendation of Comelec Commissioner Ray Bulay. In a statement, Director Laudianco says he is humbled by the en banc's decision and assures to work for the success of the elections. Meanwhile, Director James Jimenez congratulates Laudianco's designation and said he will continue to serve faithfully with respect to the will and wisdom of the Commission.
The Commission on Elections has recognized the PDPLaban faction of Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi as the legitimate wing of the party. The Cusi wing now calls on the other factions of Senators Coco Pimentel and Manny Pacquiao for unity. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The PDPLaban hailed the decision of the Commission on Elections, acknowledging the legitimacy of the faction of Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi. Secretary Cusi thanked the 2nd Division led by Commissioner Socorro Inting on their decision declaring and recognizing the current officers and members as the real PDPLaban party. Cusi invited Senator Pimentel for a meeting and invited him to take a step back and to not be emotional. Also, the Energy Secretary calls for unity. In a resolution issued on Friday, the poll body's Special 2nd Division recognized the Cusi-led faction as the true and official members of the ruling party, where President Rodrigo Duterte is the party chairman. The other PDPLaban faction is led by presidential aspirant Senator Manny Pacquiao and Senator Coco Pimentel. The Comelec Special 2nd Division voted 2-1 in favor of the Cusi wing. The resolution showed Commissioners Socorro Inting and Ray Bulay as the majority votes, while Commissioner Marlon Casquejo as the dissenter. According to Pimentel, the decision is not immediately executory. They are planning to file a motion for reconsideration. Pimentel said they are hoping that Comelec and Bank will look the issues with eyes wide open. Nel Maribuho, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Presidential bet Vice President Leni Robredo goes back to her bailiwick Bicol region. Robredo remains unfazed amid all the uncertainties, citing the hard work of her supporters and volunteers. Harleen Delgado reports.
2 days away from the May 9 elections, independent candidate Vice President Leni Robredo goes back to her roots in Bicol region. Robredo, together with her running mate Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan and some members of the senatorial slate, first attended a grand rally in Sorsogon City in Sorsogon. They were also welcomed by supporters at a people's rally in Legazpi City in the province of Albay. Meanwhile, thousands of Bicolanos gather at the Meeting de Avance in Naga City in Camarines Sur. According to local organizers, the crowd was estimated at 168,000 as of 5 p.m. When asked by supporters about her current thoughts with the upcoming elections, Robredo says she remains unfazed, citing her efforts and the hard work of her supporters.
Hindi ako kinakabahan kasi ginawa ko naman lahat. Ako na yata yung pinakamasipag. Parang nakakalungkot nga na tapos na bukas. Dahil naging masaya talaga na grabe yung kampanya. Gagawin natin lahat, leaving no stones unturned. Hindi natin gagawin yung mga masasamang ginagawa ng iba. Yun naman yung pinakamahalaga. Diyos na yung bahala pagkatapos.
Meanwhile, Robredo once again slammed those who keep on spreading fake news and disinformation against her. This as her spokesperson, Attorney Batty Gutierrez, filed a cyber libel complaint against a writer and publisher from several news platforms for a news article alleging that CPP founder Chairman Joe Masison has been advising Robredo. The independent candidate also has this to say to those who keep on insisting that she cheated in the 2016 elections.
Ilang beses ko na siyang natalo sa Supreme Court. Unanimous ang desisyon, 15-0. Ang narrative niya, dinaya pa din siya. So parang wala nang redemption. Talagang ang sinungaling sa umpisa, sinungaling hanggang kahuli-hulihan. Kawawa yung mga Pilipinong napapapaniwala niya.
On the last day of the campaign, Robredo will be returning to the provinces of Tarlac and Pampanga before going to Metro Manila for the Meeting de Avance to be held at Ayala Avenue in Makati City. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
PNP Chief Police General Leonardo Carlos formally bids goodbye to the men and women of the Philippine National Police 2 days before his retirement on Sunday, May 8. No change of command ceremony was given to Police Lieutenant General Vicente Danao Jr., who will replace Carlos as the officer in charge of the PNP. Danao will remain as PNP OIC until the next president chooses new PNP chief. In his speech, Carlos thanked President Duterte for his trust and assured the public on a peaceful conduct of the elections on Monday.
I'd just like to say thank you to the Philippine nation, especially to our President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, for the opportunity to serve as your 27 Chief PNP. Thank you to our good Secretary Eduardo Emanio, for the trust and all the guidance that he has given me in the past 6 months.
The Philippine Coast Guard has activated its biggest ship to date, the BRP Teresa Magbanwa, which will patrol the country's maritime territory. Janice Inhente has this story.
The Philippine Coast Guard formally presented the largest and newest ship in the Philippines named BRP Teresa Magbanwa. According to PCG, the newest water asset will strengthen the country's international and regional maritime operations. The BRP Teresa Magbanwa is the lead ship of the 2 Kunigami-class vessels that the PCG procured, which was made in Japan. It has 97-meter length and a maximum speed of at least 24 knots with an endurance of 4,000 nautical miles. Compared to other PCG ships that can only stay in the sea for a week, BRP Teresa Magbanwa has the capability to last in the sea for at least 15 days or 2 weeks. According to PCG Commander Coast Guard Admiral Artemio Abu, it is capable of conducting sustained maritime patrols in the country's maritime jurisdictions, especially.
So mas malaki yung barko natin ngayon, mas mahaba yung panahon na itatagal niya sa dagat, and capability niya to handle sea condition mas maayos. And at par na tayo sa malalaking barko ng mga kaibigan natin sa neighboring countries natin. The vessel is complemented by 65 personnel, officers and non-officers of the Coast Guard. So yung endurance niya, yung bigat niya, this is enough to be stable at sea.
Meanwhile, BRP Teresa is scheduled to visit Indonesia for an international marine pollution exercise.
Na nasa isip namin is to send the vessel to the upcoming marine pollution exercise in Indonesia. So meron na tayong sapat na kakayahan para magkaroon tayo ng regional and international engagement through this vessel. And of course, kasama rin sa plano natin na deploy niya yan from as far as south, from north to south, and east to west. Practically the entire archipelago, dyan natin siya i-deploy, including the West Philippine Sea.
Meanwhile, the sister ship of BRP Teresa Magbanwa is slated to arrive in Manila from Japan next month. She will be commissioned as BRP Melchora Aquino. Janice Enhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The World Health Organization estimates nearly 15 million COVID deaths worldwide directly and indirectly were killed by the pandemic during the first 2 years. Ruth Bahe will tell us why live. Yes, Ruth, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, William. The World Health Organization estimates that between 13.3 million and 16.6 million people died either by coronavirus or by its impact on overwhelmed health systems. Most of the deaths occurred in Southeast Asia, Europe, and the Americas, according to a WHO report issued Thursday. Deaths associated directly with coronavirus or indirectly due to other causes related to the pandemic impact on the health system and overwhelmed hospitals are described as excess mortality. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, WHO Director General, stated that sobering data also emphasized the need for all countries to invest more in resilient health systems, including stronger health information systems. Moreover, these figures, which health experts say are important to understand the impact of the pandemic and assess decisions and effective plans for future crises. William?
Yes, thank you very much. Ruth Bahe reporting live.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky launches a new crowdfunding platform to raise funds in support of Ukraine. Mavian Dog will tell us why live. Yes, Maeve?
Kath, the new global initiative United 24 has been launched by Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky to help Kyiv win its war against Russia and rebuild Ukraine's infrastructure. Ukrainian cities and nearly 400 healthcare facilities have suffered immense destruction, and the president is calling on people around the world who can make donations from any country through United 24.
Here, in one click, you can donate funds to protect our defenders, to save our civilians, and to rebuild Ukraine. All funds will be transferred to the National Bank of Ukraine and allocated to the relevant ministries.
Reports will be given by President Zelensky's government every 24 hours and how the money is being used. The president also stated on his Twitter page that other projects and programs will be added soon aside from the fundraising. Meanwhile, a Ukrainian cabinet body has started developing proposals for the post-war reconstruction plan. Kath?
Maeve, what is the latest on civilian evacuations from Ukraine, particularly in Mariupol?
At the latest count, Russia estimates around 2,000 Ukrainian fighters and a few hundred civilians being trapped in the tunnels under the steel plant in Mariupol, and it is unlikely for them to get an easy exit. Ukraine blames Russian troops for the shelling and firing, preventing their previous attempts at the evacuation of the remaining civilians. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Mavian Dog, reporting live.
The United States Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, put strict limits to the emergency use of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccines. The decision comes after an investigation links the vaccine to the risk of thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, or TTS, a condition where recipients develop low levels of platelets and blood clots at the same time, which can be life-threatening. Cases of TTS may experience symptoms including shortness of breath, chest and abdominal pain, leg swelling, and severe headaches 1 to 2 weeks after receiving the vaccine. J&J vaccines will be limited to ages 18 and over who does not have access or are not advised to opt for other approved brands, and those that prefer J&J vaccines as they would not get vaccinated otherwise. Director of FDA Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, Dr. Peter Mark, says that they will continue to monitor the safety of all other vaccines and will thoroughly evaluate new safety information.
Full and partial lockdowns have been implemented in some cities in China the past few weeks to stop the spread of COVID-19, such as the shutdown of China's commercial hub, Shanghai. With this, China's economy is sharply declining in the second quarter of 2022. The government is now rolling out plans to mitigate the situation by giving a tax cut, and VAT credit rebates will be returned to qualified companies, according to Premier Li Keqiang. In addition to these, the legislators are urging financial institutions to extend loan repayments and exempt default interest rates to small businesses. For the foreign trade sector, the government will secure consistent foreign orders to stabilize their currency yuan and provide more loans for trade firms. In March, the official unemployment rate in China hit 5.8%, a near two-year high.
Surgical face masks in the UK could be turned into prosthetic bedpans and other medical essentials under a large-scale recycling project by one of London's biggest NHS trusts. Ryuji Sasaki reports why live. Ryuji, go ahead.
William, the recycling project aims to address the growing issue of PPE waste in hospitals in the UK. It is also part of NHS Trust's commitment to sustainability and reducing carbon footprint by 2045. More than 9.8 million face masks were used across a 13-month period in the pandemic, according to Imperial College Healthcare, which received a grant of £44,000 from Imperial Health Charity to work on this project alongside Globus Group. They are now looking at the possibility of separating hundreds of thousands of masks that are used across its 5 hospitals to allow them to be recycled over the next 18 months. Imperial Chief says that this project could be rolled out to other trusts if the first project becomes successful. William?
Yes, thank you, Ryuji Sasaki, reporting live. Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
Before we close, we will leave you with the word giving glory to God from the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. It says, "For bodily exercise profited little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is and of that which is to come." those are the reasons behind the news, May 6, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Kat Tumaraos, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.